Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer and today's unboxing of the Full Mechanics Raider Gundam comes to you courtesy of those fine folks over at Canadian Gundam. Canadian Gundam is your one-stop shop for all things plamo and Gunpla here in North America. When checking their vast catalog and placing your next order, don't forget to use the promo code Gunpla Network to save yourself 10% off. Just like I've done with the last series of reviews, I'm just kind of talking over the images of kind of my general thoughts before I get into the build. So you'll see everything that's in the box, but I'm not going to specifically point every little bit out. I have a lot of high hopes for this kit, but I'm also a little worried about it. The Full Mechanics Calamity was really solid, it's very impressive. It kind of combined the two things I like the most about Gunplas. It had the kind of surface detailing of a master grade, not quite to the same extent, but similar enough. And then it had kind of the simplicity of a high grade. You could knock it out within a few hours pretty easily. And this line kind of combines both of those, especially with the Calamity, so I'm hoping the Raider's the same way, but it's going to transform, and that's a little bit concerning. Usually, the simpler transformations of like a high grade can be problematic just because they're a little too simple. There's nothing to hold the parts in place. There's kind of good and bad to that. It usually doesn't necessarily make the mobile suit mode any less stable, which is kind of good, but it also kind of makes the transformation mode irrelevant. I'm hoping that's not the case here. The transformation is fairly simple. It's not too complex. It's definitely not like a Zeta Gundam or anything like that, but it is something that concerns me. The simplicity and the extra weight of the larger plastic might be a bit of a concern. I've had some issues, not a lot, but typically just in the arm where the bicep connects to the shoulder on the Calamity since I've done that review. It kind of not being super stable. It kind of slides out, but it's one of those things that probably much like this, I'll put it on a shelf in a singular pose and probably never touch it again, or maybe touch it like once every 6 months or every year. It looks really good. It's great to look at, but handling it's a little bit of a pain sometimes. And I'm just worrying that transformation is going to make that worse. However, after looking at everything in the box, I can very confidently say I'm going to be very impressed with this visually speaking. A lot of the surface detailing is probably not going to be as noticeable as it was on the Calamity just because the dark black color this is. Panel lining is not really going to make a huge difference there. But it is still something I think right next to the Calamity is going to look great. If they ever do a Forbidden, I think it will look equally as good next to it. I think Forbidden's the next one. I can't remember what the third one of this trio is. I get them and the SEED Destiny suits mixed up. But overall, I mean, visually speaking, it's really impressive. It's got pretty much all the color separation you would need. The claws look really cool. The wings look great. All the thrusters on the legs look good. The face, being what it is, still looks pretty good. So I'm generally excited to build it. I don't know if I'm excited to mess with it after the fact. It's kind of been a host of these reviews for me lately, of things that I'm like, this is really impressive looking. If you want it on your shelf, it's great, but don't mess with it. I'm worried that's going to be the case here. Either way, those are kind of just some of my general thoughts on that. In terms of what is actually in the box in regards to it being a full mechanics, it's pretty on par with that of the Calamity Gundam. Color separations there, which is great. You get a sticker sheet, which is great. You get a bendable wire, which is nice, but it also kind of feels super lame. I mean, it's nice that it's included. It's just a very weak wire, and that's why they give you the stand, which I guess that's kind of the best compromise because you can't make a wire really thick enough for that mace ball thingy. But it is kind of weird they give you just the most piddly little just nothing wire. It is what it is. I do think that is going to be an interesting weapon to pose with that stand. The stand in and of itself may be a little bit more of a problem. I don't think it's going to be, but it could be. Because, anytime you've got a separate stand with a large weapon, it's kind of a pain because you'll get it kind of posed where you want on the stand, and then you put the mobile suit around it and inevitably knock it off the stand or whatever. Here it's not as bad because the weapon is pretty small, but being in the scale, it is a fairly large amount of plastic, and it's got the internal mechanism to like wind the wire up, which is actually really cool. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to be too heavy, if the stand's going to be a little unwieldy. I don't really know what else I would have wanted out of this. I think it's fine the way it is, because there's really no good solution. Like, if you're going to have anything that's on a wire like this, the stand's kind of your best option, unfortunately. But we'll see how that works out. It is nice that it includes the stand. It would have been really useless otherwise. Everything else looks great. Everything else, from like what I can tell, just out of box, like from an engineering standpoint, looks similar to the Calamity. So all the same pros and cons I had from that are probably going to carry over here. And I'm actually excited about it. I think this is one of the cooler looking suits to come out recently. I know it's, not a master grade or whatever, but I do think this design is neat. And I think it's going to be done a fair amount of justice in the full mechanics, much like the Calamity before it was. Anyway, if you've got any tips on what I should watch out for when building or doing the transformation, or any heads up, or just your comments on what the build was like, I definitely appreciate those in the comments down below. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them as well. Anyway, do your best to stay safe, friends, and keep on building.